Hey, how's it going, Bronson?
Good, how are you?
Doing great, doing great. You're going head-to-head with Damian Priest on NXT this week. Given that he's kind of in a similar spot, having taken, several stars to the limit in his time in NXT as well, how big of a win would it be for you to knock him off ahead of your huge opportunity coming up at TakeOver 30 this Wednesday?
I think it'd be a really big win. I've said that I think there's a momentum shift going into Takeover. I'm on a roll, and I don't want that to stop. So I think me being able to beat Damian Priest going into TakeOver is a big statement to be made.
Mm-hmm. And where does Damian Priest fall on your list of opponents that you've wanted to work with up to this point? I believe this marks your first one-on-one match on TV, right?
That is correct, yeah. It's the first time me and Priest will be wrestling one-on-one. He's definitely someone on my list that I've been wanting to be able to wrestle on TV with. So there's still obviously a few more that I want to wrestle in NXT as well.
In your time so far in NXT, from you faced everyone from bigger guys to smaller guys. You beat Tony Nese in pretty quick and decisive fashion recently on the show. What is your preference? Wrestling smaller guys, bigger guys, or really whoever you can find the best chemistry with?
I think it does come down to chemistry. Mm-hmm. I think I've always had a bit of a natural tendency to have better matches with a smaller guy. I think for some reason that dynamic just seems to work. But whenever there's two really large athletes in the ring, I think that's something interesting for fans to see as well. So, one match that I hope happens one day is me and Keith Lee.
Mm-hmm. And what was your reaction upon winning that triple threat match just recently on the show against Gargano, against Roderick Strong, to qualify for the NXT North American Championship ladder match at TakeOver 30?
I was 100% positive. It's one of those things. You work very hard to get to where you are. Obviously, I come from the independence and Australian wrestling scene, and then to be able to wrestle guys like Gargano and Roderick Strong, who are so well known, and not just that, established amongst NXT. It's really good to be able to get in there with those guys, but also come out with the win.
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned recently on NXT TV, kind of in that vignette that aired on you a couple of weeks ago, that your wife's support was huge in helping you get to where you are today. What was her reaction upon finding out that you'd be competing in that TakeOver ladder match coming up in a couple weeks for the title?
Yeah, if anything, she's probably more excited than me. I'm super excited, but at the same time, nerves can kick in as well. It's a big-time thing. It's not only TakeOver, it's TakeOver 30. Ladder match. It's also for the North American Championship. But, she's seen me work so hard throughout all these years that she's just, over the moon and excited to see me get these opportunities.
Mm-hmm. And kind of speaking on that as well, like I said, that vignette that aired on you a couple of weeks ago on the show kind of gave the NXT universe their first full in-depth look at your background and what you're all about coming into NXT, even though you've been here for about a year now. What was the reaction like that for you, online from fans and stuff like that? How crucial do you feel that was in the evolution of Bronson Reed as an NXT superstar?
I think it's very important to have those sort of things air on TV and for people to get to know me more. I feel like before coming to NXT, before coming to WWE, that's how I was connected with the fans, whether it was after the show or online. A lot of people would ask me questions, and I've always been such a fan of wrestling as well that I understand where people are coming from, and I try to connect with them. Mm-hmm. So being able to, show just a little slice of who I am and what got me here, I think it's important, and I hope that, we get to do more of that.
Mm-hmm. And going into TakeOver later this month, how much ladder match experience do you have? And is it something that you've always wanted to be a part of, going into TakeOver at TakeOver 30?
Yeah, definitely. I've had maybe 2 or 3 ladder matches on the independents, but they're such a high-end place like WWE, it's something that you always sort of dream of, and to be able to compete in a ladder match in WWE is something that I've wanted to do. I grew up watching things like Shawn and Razor in the ladder match at WrestleMania and the rematch at SummerSlam, and those are things that are sort of etched into my memory, and you see them do these big things like the splash off the ladder, and you forever remember it, and I want to be able to do the same, have these moments that people will remember forever.
Mm-hmm. And for the NXT North American Championship specifically, there's been so many elite superstars in the last 2.5 years alone that have held it. Obviously, most recently, Keith Lee, who had a 6-month reign with it, Velveteen Dream, Roderick Strong, Adam Cole, Johnny Gargano, who we faced recently in NXT. Such a long lineage of top talent on the show. So how much would that winning that championship mean to you, and how high of a bar is it to kind of live up to the champions who kind of came before?
Yeah, I think everyone that has been a champion are top caliber athletes, top caliber wrestlers as well. And I'm hoping if I do win, I can continue that. I think the North American Championship is sort of in that place where the Intercontinental Championship used to be, where it is the belt that is going to get defended more, and also the person that has it has to obviously, be quite a competent wrestler to do so. And I hope if I was champion, I'd like to, face as many challenges as possible, and also defend the belt as many times as possible in TV.
And most definitely, yeah. Were there any points in the last year coming into this takeover opportunity that you may have doubted that an opportunity of this caliber may have come along? We saw you be a part of the NXT Breakout Tournament. You've had a lot of strong showings in that time, but it wasn't really until recently that we see you finally get this major opportunity. Were there any points in the last year that you may have doubted that something of this caliber may have come along?
I think, as a performer, you always have that, not doubt in your mind, but you're always questioning what is happening. There's a lot of the unknown. But I feel like the people that do work hard and do, keep at it are the people that do end up getting these opportunities. And everywhere that I've gone, whether it was the independent scene in Australia, I worked really hard to try and become a top guy there. I worked really hard in Japan. I worked really hard around the independent scenes around the world to try and get noticed to be here. And, it's taken me this year to try and sort of break out, even though I was in the breakout tournament. I think it has taken the whole year to break out. So I think people are starting to notice that, and hopefully it's just, onwards and upwards from here.
And you mentioned the NXT Breakout Tournament. You were part of that along with 7 other superstars who were also introduced at that time. And it's very rare that we see anything like that, not just in NXT, but really just wrestling in general, where you introduce 8 people at the same time. And, they're all like, these are all very notable names. A lot of people who've gone on to major success. Obviously, Angel Garza's now on Raw. Isaiah Swerve Scott's in NXT now, 205 Live. A lot of top names a part of that tournament, including yourself. How important was your introduction in that tournament for you in making a literal splash upon your debut?
I think it's very important. It was something that, again, I really haven't seen ever, to have 8 guys introduced straight away. And as you said, I think everyone's gone on to be pretty successful. You see guys like the guys you mentioned, Garza, but then guys like Dexter Lumis and Cameron Grimes as well that are doing well here in NXT. And I think it was something cool and different to be able to make a debut in, and having that first match and being able to hit that splash, like you said, straight away, I think set the tone for the career that I'm going to have.
Is there any 1 or 2 people from the past that inspired the in-ring style that we see from Bronson Reed on the show?
Yeah, definitely. I'm such a student of the game. Even now to this day, I'm constantly watching wrestling. So I've been inspired and I've emulated a lot of wrestlers along my time. But for my personal in-ring, I think I grew up watching a lot of the big guys like your Bam Bam Bigelow's and Vader. And obviously, I never thought I'd be a bigger heavyweight wrestler when I got older, but obviously I am. So those guys sort of inspired the style that I have, but also guys like Samoa Joe. I was a big fan of Samoa Joe as a teenager, and I still followed him throughout his whole career here in WWE. So he's a big influence on what I do.
That's got to be a match that you want to have at some point, right? It's got to be Bronson Reed and Samoa Joe at some point down the road, right?
100%. That's a goal of mine, and it's something that I've said throughout my whole career that's my dream opponent. I want to wrestle him someday. And now that I feel like I'm closer than ever now that I'm here in NXT, and I think somewhere down the line it has to happen.
I've seen even people go so far as to say that there's similarities between your entrance theme and his entrance theme, that they're both equally addictive, similar beat, where you just hear it and you just want to get hyped up. So the similarities are there as well, Yeah,
definitely, yeah. And I mean, I don't think that was even something that crossed my mind, or when we're looking at entrance themes, it's just sort of what I liked. It felt like it suited me, and I guess it is just similar to the same with him, something that's with him as well.
Yeah, no, just two great songs. So you came in NXT initially as Jonah Rock, and we now know you as Bronson Reed. Is there any origin behind the Bronson Reed name? Is there any inspiration there behind the name?
Yeah, not a whole lot of inspiration behind the name. Same as Jonah Rock. It was sort of just something I did on a whim. In high school, my nickname was J-Rock, so that's sort of where Jonah Rock came from. Whereas Bronson, it was just a name that even years ago, when I started my wrestling career, that I had in mind instead of Jonah. And then I'm a big fan of the rapper Action Bronson, so that sort of came into play, and that's sort of where it came from.
And any aspirations at any point of getting Action Bronson to work on some sort of a theme for you, maybe at some point down the road?
Yeah, 100%. I've said that as well before, that one day I've said it to some of the guys here in WWE that I'd love for Action Bronson to actually play me out at a takeover.
I think that'd be amazing. I know I spoke to Bailey recently. She said something similar about Paramore wanting to have them play her down to the ring. And I think a lot of people kind of have that dream as well. And I think it would be pretty sick, especially at a takeover stage where you don't see that too often. I think we've seen Code Orange do that for Aleister Black before, but it would definitely be a special moment. Is it tougher to stand out for you in NXT? Because right now, there's so many, it feels like now more than ever, we have this resurgence of sorts of big man wrestlers, so to speak, on the show. Between yourself, we got Keith Lee, you mentioned earlier, Dominik Dijakovic, Damian Priest, Killian Dane, a lot of different guys. Do you feel that it's tougher to stand out, or do you feel that what you can do in that ring kind of speaks for itself?
Yeah, I think, it was, there was a big resurgence in big lads wrestling, sort of, not just in WWE, but on the independents and all us guys. The guys that you mentioned, like Dijakovic and Keith Lee, and then guys like Walter as well from NXT UK, we were all sort of on the independent scene around the same time as well. And I think we're all sort of getting noticed at the same time. So now it is harder to stand out when you do have someone else that is the same size that can do some of the similar things that you can do. So I feel like us big guys really do have to push it each and every time that we're in there.
Where did the Thicc Boy nickname come from? It's very unique. We haven't heard that before you came along in NXT. What's the origin behind that nickname?
So the origin of that is actually from the fans as well. So on some of my posts, whether it's posts of me, in the gym or some of my wrestling posts online, people started commenting Thicc or Thicc Boy or he's thick. And I sort of just embraced it, and I ran with it. I was like, that's a cool nickname. Like that's something that I think I can go with.
I think Tyler Bate has a similar name too. I forgot what his nickname was. It was something.
Big Strong Boy.
Big Strong Boy. So it's got to be inevitable that we see that Big Strong Boy versus Thicc Boy. Again, it's a match that writes itself.
Yeah, 100%. And again, I think we have a cool clash of styles that we could have a really good match.
Yeah, I think that'd be awesome. I spoke with Rhea Ripley last week, and she had a lot of praise for you when I asked her about your recent rise on the show, obviously both coming from Australia. Having been a fan of your work for a long time, she had mentioned. What have your thoughts been on her recent rise as well to NXT Women's Championship stardom, kind of seeing where she started in Australia as well to where she is now?
Yeah, I think the world of Rhea Ripley. I think she's such an amazing talent. She's an amazing person as well. It's weird for me, so at one point in my career, I was wrestling locally in Adelaide, South Australia, where we're both from. And I remember Rhea, as a teenager, used to come and actually watch our matches. She was a fan of guys like myself and Brendan Thicc, who's also with the WWE as well. So then to see her actually get into wrestling and then actually, she got really good, really fast, really young as well. I think we all knew even back then, a few years ago in the Australian independent scene, that she was someone that was going to be in the WWE and do big things. So, I think a lot of her.
And she mentioned as well that she would like to see more Aussies in NXT, between yourself being there, Brendan Vink, as you mentioned, Shane Thorne, the Iconics on the main roster. There's a lot of Aussies currently in WWE, and she had mentioned more often, moreover than anything else, it would be cool to hear more Aussie accents, backstage and have more people from, where you came from. Is that something you kind of agree with as well?
Yeah, well, for me as well, I feel like at the moment there's a bit of a boom in the Australian wrestling scene. You're seeing a lot of us guys here in WWE, but even just around the world, and I think there's still so much untapped potential in Australia that the world needs to see. So I too hope that more and more Australians can come here and wrestle for WWE and NXT.
And up to this point, you've had the chance to mix it up with a variety of names. You know, everyone from Dijakovic, Karrion Kross recently, Matt Riddle. You guys had a great match late last year on NXT on USA Network. Roderick Strong as well recently, you know, earlier this year, among other people. Who have been your favorite opponents so far to date in NXT?
I think, me and Riddle had a really fun match.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't the longest of matches, but it was just something that was so explosive. So I like being able to wrestle him. And the Roderick Strong match as well is one that stands out for me. And then obviously, again, we wrestled in the triple threat match. I think there's good chemistry between me and Roderick Strong. So those ones definitely stand out.
And final question for you. Has the NXT universe seen everything that Bronson Reed is capable of in that ring up to this point, or is there more to come?
There's definitely more to come. You know, I always have things in my back pocket that I save for another day, and there's a lot more to see from the Thicc Boy, trust me.
Looking forward to seeing more on Wednesday when you face Damian Priest. It should be great. Bronson, thanks so much for your time, man. I appreciate it.
No, thank you so much.